So in keeping with our theme of the importance of security testing, we're going to do a little hands-on exercise. We're going to pick on Android applications. We're actually going to decompile one. Now, if you remember, we discussed compiling earlier. It was the conversion of source code into the machine code that a computer understands how to execute. Well, Android apps are downloaded from an app store, installed onto a system, and run. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab one of those applications and see if we can actually revert it back from machine code into source code. The reason this is important is because if we have the source code exposed, anyone who knows how to read code can understand how the application works. So if you do something like, say, programming a username and password into your application and think that it won't be exposed when the user downloads the application, you might be wrong. So what we're going to do is decompile, but first understand that this is the process that happens when creating an Android application. The source code is compiled into class files that are then packaged together into an APK. That is the file that is then uploaded to the Google Play Store for users to download onto their Android devices and install. By decompiling it, we're actually going to get our hands on that APK file, and we are going to see if we can convert it back into the source code and have a look at it. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go into our system, and we are going to open our decompiling lab. And we'll go into the Step 1 APK folder, where we will find a mGov.apk file. What we're going to do is we're going to rename that from mGov.apk to mGov.zip. We're going to try to see if it's a zip file. By renaming it, if it's not a zip file, when we try to open it, it should fail. Windows will say it's a corrupt file. However, if it is a zip file, simply renaming it should be able to open it through the designated program to see what's inside. So we change it to mgov.zip. We click yes to acknowledge the change of the file name. And when we double click on that file, lo and behold, we find that there are folders and files inside there. What are these things? Well, this is the contents of every single Android application that is ever downloaded. Of course, different for each one, but every single APK file is going to be nothing more than a renamed zip file that we can then explore the contents of. So let's back out of this and let's go to the Step 2 dex2jar folder. Let's open that. And inside here, we're going to open the command prompt, and then we're going to type in a command, d2j-dex2jar.bat, a batch file, and we're going to give it the parameter mgov.apk. So what we are doing is we are telling this batch file to locate the mgov.apk file and do something with it. Well, what does this dex2jar program do? We'll find out. We run the command, it executes, and after that finishes, if we return to the Step 3 folder, open Step 3 jd-GUI, and double-click on the jd-GUI executable file, the Java decompiler application opens. Now, if we return to the Step 3 folder, we will find a mgov-dex2jar.jar file. If we drag and drop that into the Java decompiler application, suddenly we will see that there is indeed information we can look at. We will see a tree structure on the left that when we open those, we see the different class files within there. And when we select the class files, we're looking at the actual code for the application itself. So believe it or not, your code can be exposed through a simple process of decompiling. Some platforms are more difficult to decompile than others. Android is arguably one of the easiest, but the important lesson to take from this exercise is that you should never assume that your source code cannot be found and analyzed by an attacker.